Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to episode 6 of the Two Pad Stack podcast. I'm Ace alongside Burge as always, and we're happy to dive in and have some conversations all about Boston Bruins hockey, New England sports. We're going to throw a little football talk at you today with the regular season right around the corner and a few other topics on the list here today. Burge, how's it going, buddy? How's your week been?
Oh, it's been a great week. What is happening? Had a fun day today with the boys. Coordinated 3 bath times for a toddler and 2 infants. Was a little bit chaotic, so I am excited to be relaxing here with you, getting ready to dive in and record this lovely
Hell
episode we
yeah,
got
dude.
planned for you.
Yeah, the Burge household is leading the league in baths per 60 right now. So, yeah, I don't envy that. I don't like bath time with kids. It is an absolute shit show. My daughters still fight me on it. They want to do baths. We finally gotten them away from the whole bath thing. My 6-year-old absolutely hates the shower, but she needs to get into the shower more than what she does. But yeah, it's the bath time was not a fun thing, but hey, you kind of have to make sure your kids are hygienic, right?
Doing one bath for one kid, I can do that all day. That's easy. Just throw him in the bathtub, let him play for a bit. I have to struggle to get mine out of the bathtub. He loves it so much. Like your daughter, he's terrified of the shower, so he doesn't even want to
Hmm.
try that yet. But you throw,
Oh, dude, if the water hits her eyes, it's like a horror movie.
dude. The thing I found that works with my son is he loves going in the pool at his grandfather's house. So I just say it's just like Grandpa's pool. I just dump water all over his face, and it got him laughing. He used to hate it like that as well, but now I just tell him, "Hey, it's Grandpa's pool." Boom,
It's
splash him.
just like Guantanamo Bay as you waterboard your child.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, awesome, dude. Glad to hear that you're able to settle down a little bit, maybe have a drink or two while we're recording.
Oh yeah.
Lord knows I am. Selfish plug for the brewery that I work at, Backhill Beer here in Rochester, New Hampshire. Not a sponsor. I just fucking love their beer so much I decided to work there. But I
I'm
am sipping on the Triple Crown Blonde Ale right now, and it is fan fucking tastic.
I'm gonna have
So
to get up your way at some point to meet up with you and try some of that beer because I love myself some craft beer. My wife, we took the kids with some of her friends and their kids. We went to Treehouse Brewing out in Tewksbury on Saturday. Place was a zoo, but
nice.
was great beer. We had plenty of room to just let the kids down to play, so it was actually awesome. That's the best thing about going to a brewery.
I have heard some amazing things about Treehouse and working in the beer industry. We have a lot of folks that come in that are, I don't want to call them beer snobs, but they know a thing or two about,
Hmm.
craft beer, and they're always ranting and raving about Treehouse. So when you ever do come up, make sure you grab me a couple of 4 packs and I'll trade. I'll give you some of ours for some of that. Um,
Absolutely.
Definitely happy to make that bargain. Um, in personal news, today was my older daughter's birthday.
Oh wow! Happy
So
birthday.
it still is her birthday, I suppose. But yeah, I officially reached 10 years of fatherhood today.
Quite the
So
milestone.
yeah, dude, double digits. I love you very much, kiddo, Arya. I know you're probably not listening to this, but we do have some family members that do. Um, but yeah, it was a good time. We went up to Jay Peak in northern Vermont, and we did the indoor water park vacation. Ended up taking the tram all the way up to the top of the mountain. Had some nice dinners. Um, it was kind of for a selfish perspective there. It wasn't just for her birthday. We were also just kind of scoping it out because we do snowboarding and stuff.
Hmm.
And we were kind of curious about the feasibility of us doing maybe a snowboarding vacation there in the winter. Safe to say the place checked all the boxes and we had a wonderful time, and we're looking forward to going back.
That's
Have you ever been up
fantastic.
there?
No, I've never been there. I do ski, and I use the word I do ski lightly. It's been a few years since I've gone, but I do enjoy going when I do get to go. But like, I look forward to being able to take those kinds of family trips once my kids get older, because you know how it is when they're small. It's very difficult to do stuff like that, and you kind of
Yeah.
need you need space because otherwise you're sitting in the room with two little kids the whole time, and you really get no time to yourself to kind of enjoy the adult aspects of a vacation like that.
Yeah, 100%. And that is the one thing that is nice about not having to have the little ones that really kind of keep you limited into the area where you can go to. There's no real big excursions. Travel itself can be kind of daunting when you have infants and smaller
Hmm.
children. When they're a little bit more self-sufficient, I can just kind of like yeet a bag of chips back at my kid and be like, here, shut up for like 30 minutes, have a snack,
Yeah,
open the
exactly.
cooler and grab yourself a juice. Like, they're somewhat sufficient at this age, and sometimes I take that for granted.
Hmm.
But I
Like,
definitely also miss how fucking adorable they are when they're little.
I'm definitely not rushing the toddler stage or anything like that. Obviously, it has its challenges. I thoroughly enjoy my 3-year-old son right now. He's an absolute blast to be around. He's hilarious, like you said, adorable. In terms of the infants, dude, I got 6 hours uninterrupted sleep last night for the first time. We're getting close to that full night sleep again.
Oh yeah.
I'll rush through that, but yeah, I agree with you. They are super adorable when they're small, but can't wait to be able to start taking them places.
Yep, absolutely. And as a bartender at a brewery, it's so funny when I see so many of these parents just bringing their really really tiny children to the brewery. Because if you go back like 10 years, there was like a stigma about,
Oh yeah.
bars and breweries, and it would be completely unheard of for someone to bring a young child to a brewery. Why would you bring your kid to a brewery? You're just going to be drinking beer. Why would you be drinking beer in front of your children? And the amount of people that come into the bar now, the brewery, is and aren't even drinking beer. They're just here for like the ambiance and the vibes. They'll probably maybe get one beer or two beers, like the dad will be the only one drinking,
Mhm.
but the whole family are there just to like, you're allowed to bring in outside food. So they'll bring
Right.
in their own like lunches, their like their sandwiches or whatever, and their own drinks and stuff. But they'll just be playing board games and just hanging out in the brewery while dad has a couple IPAs. And it's just I feel like overall the societal expectation and representation of what a brewery is in a community has drastically shifted in the last 5-10 years.
It's funny you bring that up because when we were sitting there on Saturday night, one of the other dads that was there, we were talking about that, how 10 years ago, this would be severely frowned upon. And I think it has to do with a generational shift too. All of us millennials are getting up to that age where we're becoming parents or we've been parents for a while. And yeah, we're looking to get out of the house. And it's not like you go to a brewery to get trashed, get housed and not be able to find your way home. You're there for the
Right.
vibes, to get out, relax, socialize with other people that are in the same situations you are with kids,
Yep.
young kids, and especially when they're infants. It's so easy. You just bring the carrier, you plop the carrier down, and you can sit there and enjoy it. You don't have to chase a toddler all over the place or anything like that. So it is.
Although I do have to say, I could use some of these parents bringing in their kids to employ a little bit more, I don't know, parenting. Because when they are on the toddler side, higher end toddler side, and you just let like three boys from the age of 3 to 7 sprint around my brewery while I'm working, I might lose my fucking mind if like I lose more customers because your kids are running around acting
Yeah.
like it's the brewery Olympics and jumping over tables and shit. Like it shouldn't be my job to tell you, hey, could you please have your kid not be a little shit? Like, at what point are you gonna step up and be a parent and be like, "Hey, Jimmy, calm the fuck down, or you're going in the fucking car."
Yeah, I mean, Treehouse Brewing, the one we went to in Tewksbury, actually sits on the old Tewksbury Country Club, so it's a golf course.
Mhm.
And where you sit outside, it's looking right down one of the tee boxes for one of the holes. And my friend's kid would keep running out over there, and the course was closed, I think, because they had some flooding that had occurred in the last couple of weeks. And he kept running out there, and eventually somebody had to come over and be like, "Hey, we can't go out there." We're like, "We know." It's not like my friends were letting him go and not realizing he was going. As soon as he took off, they were running right after him. And my son wasn't doing that. My son is a little bit more timid and cautious when it comes to stuff like that. So he's a little bit easier to kind of corral, at least at his age now. We'll see what happens in a year or two. But yeah, I agree with you. If you're going to a brewery, to a place, of business, you got to control your kids. That goes for saying, anywhere you take your kids.
Right. Well, I think it's just a lot of these parents, they employ this hands-off strategy.
Hmm.
Um, and I know that I'm not suggesting that you beat the shit out of your kids. Let's make
No.
that abundantly clear. But you need to be able to discipline them, whether that's verbally or, you know, from, withdrawing something that they enjoy, something along those lines. But it seems like a lot of these parents just don't do anything with these kids. Like maybe these dads were the guys that just wanted to come in and have 3 double IPAs and disassociate from the world that they're living in and just let their kids do
Like, if
brewery Olympics.
you're
But
gonna do that, get a sitter.
yeah, no shit. They don't want to pay for a sitter though. Oh man. Yeah. But yeah, it was a good time. I enjoyed our long weekend here. I took today off of work, so I ended up streaming some WoW hardcore classics. So
Did you
shout
die
out to the
again?
nerds. I didn't. I'm still alive with this character. I'm leveling up a human mage named Marshy. So we got Brad Marchand and his beak still casting firebolts here in the Eastern Kingdoms. So yeah, we're still going, baby. Hashtag staying alive. But yeah, it was a good weekend. What else did you do?
I mean, yesterday we kind of hung around with the kids, uh, we try to take our downtime where we can get it. I mean, we're still dealing with, like I told you, with the sleep deprivation, and all that from having the two infants. This morning we actually got up and went out. We went to this little cafe that we first time we went there. It's geared towards parents with small children. You go there, you get breakfast, you coffee, you can kind of sit around. They have a whole bunch of toys, a whole play area for the kids. So we went there. We had the infants in the carriers. They slept pretty much the whole time we were there. We had to feed them once, but it was very easy to do. And our toddler just ran around, played with a bunch of other kids, and it was very relaxing, at least for that
Awesome.
hour or two that we were there. And then we come home and all hell breaks loose with bath time. So
Awesome. Awesome.
it was
Um
good.
yeah, that's great, dude. I'm glad to hear that you're able to do that. It's always fun, like when you're a parent, just kind of sitting back and seeing how your child like interacts with other children
Hmm.
to see what kind of like behaviors they've picked up or something that they've come up with on their own. Um, because I can always kind of like just stand back and see how my kids become that kind of humorous, you know, sense of humor, entertainer, joker in the group, and I'm like, oh man, like what have I done? These kids have picked this up from me, and I can literally see my wife's always like pointing at me. She's like, Ace, that's you. These are your fucking kids. And then whenever they get into fucking trouble, whenever they're messing around, it's never my wife's kids. It's Ace. Your daughter did this. Your daughter did that. I was like, listen, I didn't poop these kids out. I saw them come out of you. Like they're your daughters too. Like you can't pin this all on me.
That's a great way to look at it. No, I mean, I get some of that too. I mean, we're at the stage now where we have to watch our mouths around our son because he is repeating everything that I say. And there's been a few times where I've let, a damn or shit or fuck slip out and he said it. And I have to turn to him and be like, whoa, that's not a good word. You don't repeat that. Daddy said that by accident. And it's everything now. I say, oh my God. He says, oh my God, just
Yep.
for no reason. And I'm like, oh man, what am I doing? And it's every time like I stub my toe, I realize I gotta really watch what I'm saying because I'm one of those people when I stub my toe, I get really, really
Oh yeah,
angry,
dude.
so mad, and I don't have no filter at that point. And actually, last week I actually did it, and I actually restrained myself because I saw my son there, and I'm like, well, I can't do this because I really don't want to deal with the repercussions of having to teach him that that word is bad, or the stare downs from the wife saying, "Why did you do that? Why did you do that?" Yeah, so yeah, it's a lot of fun trying to make all that stuff happen, and
You go
I just
from being like fuck to
yeah,
fiddlesticks.
like your grandfather, my grandfather would say that all the time, and yeah, I see myself turning into my dad and my grandfather, every day that I'm now a parent, and
Oh yeah.
my son's going to be a class clown. I can tell he's always a giant goofball. And, I
Hmm.
see him, interact with kids as well. And he does really well with it, at least at this point. He's just turned 3. So, I mean, I'm sure we get a long way to go. So, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Have you watched Bluey at all?
We're not real into Bluey. Where my son is big into Cocomelon still, so he loves all the music, and every time we watch TV, it's Cocomelon this, Cocomelon that.
Yeah,
Lately,
fuck
it's
Cocomelon. Like
yeah,
straight up, I'm not gonna lie to you. Fuck Cocomelon. Like I can't stand that shit. If I heard that fucking song one more time, I was gonna find the nearest place to off myself. Like it just wasn't. It wasn't doing it for me. Now, Bluey. Let me just say, like this is a show that my wife and I will literally prefer to have on. Like we will not even prefer. Like, that's using the wrong terminology. Bluey is a show that we will actually enjoy watching with the children, and that's because they have a lot of topics in it that are um, catered towards the adult audience. Like, for example, one of the episodes is all about um, the kids using their imagination. Bluey and Bingo are the two kids, and the parents bought a piece of furniture from in this universe's version of IKEA, and Bandit and Chili, who are the mom and dad, or the dad and mom, they are very much struggling to put this fucking piece of furniture together. And I absolutely
so relatable.
I placed myself right in that situation because me and the wife bought one of the IKEA beds with the drawers underneath it, and we could not put this thing together to save our fucking lives. And I was getting so angry at the bed, and my wife saw how angry I was getting at the bed, and she like thought that I was getting mad at her or something. So then she got mad at me, and then I'm fucking yelling at her because I'm more mad at the fucking bed. And meanwhile, my kids are running around with the box, and that's exactly what fucking happened in the episode of Bluey. Like they're building a porch swing, and the kids are acting like the box that all the parts in the porch swing came in are like a raft, and they're like pretending like they're rafting out in the ocean or something. And yeah, Chili and Bandit are about ready to have a divorce over putting together the fucking swing. And I'm like that's real life, man. Like
That's
that
so
happens.
relatable. Oh
And
my god.
when you watch all these kids shows and they show like the back of the car, and the kids are in the car seat, everything is absolutely pristine back there, very well organized. There's no mess anywhere. In Bluey, no, dude. Like there are wrappers, there are like Cheerios, there are melted crayons. Like that's just what life is.
Life is a
Nothing is
parent.
perfect. Yeah, dude. Like you really just kind of relate to it, and then they throw in that Australian sense of humor. I love that show, and I hope that your little boy gets into that stuff soon because it is an absolute treat to watch. Every single episode is fantastic.
We'll have to check it out with him then, because through the parental relatable items like that would crack me up, because I would be like, "That's me. That's you." To my wife, I'd be like, "That's you," yelling at
But
me for no reason while I'm trying to put together a bed.
there's another one where they told the kids that they were gonna go to the park the next day, but I think it was after New Year's, and both Chili and Bandit are absolutely so fucking hungover, and they don't want to do anything. Like they're like, "Oh, my head is hurting so bad. I don't want to get off the couch." And the kids are like, "This is boring. Why not?" Da, da, da. And it's just like, "Yeah, dude, like this is just life, man. Like it's so good."
I'm putting this on the list.
Good. You and the wife. I don't even know your wife, but I know that both of you guys, just from the parental perspective, will really enjoy it. Especially as the kids continue to get older. I think we maybe relate to the show a little bit more because this particular family in the show has two little girls,
Okay.
about 7 and 4, which is near where our girls' ages are at. So we always are like, oh yeah, we have our own little, Bluey and Bingo. So
That's awesome.
yeah. All right. Well, let's talk some NHL. Let's talk some Bruins stuff. No big news whatsoever, really. We continue to be in the slow season. We are almost out of August here, which is a pretty big milestone for the NHL. September is right around the corner. We will see training camps open up in September. We will see the Prospects Challenge in Buffalo in September. So we'll have some on ice Bruins news soon. Anything kind of coming to mind for you, Burge, in regards to the National Hockey League this week?
No, I mean, just one interesting thing that was sent to me today kind of relates to the goalies. I sent it to you earlier as well, is what Linus Allmark does with his goalie stick. Um, saw he cuts a trigger notch in the paddle of his stick, and I'm sitting here looking at his stick, and being a goalie myself, I'm trying to figure out how he actually grips the stick, because I don't know, when you play goalie, when I grip the stick with with my blocker hand, my index finger, which is, I guess you call it, the trigger finger, is extended out straight. I don't hold the stick in a fist like a player would. I extend that index finger down, the paddle of the stick. So I'm looking at this trigger notch that he's got. I'm struggling to think like how he grips the stick. I mean, it's not the same thing, but it kind of reminds me. The first thing that popped into my head was like a Curtis curve. Those old goalie sticks from like the '90s that had the weird curve
Oh
along the
yeah, yeah,
shaft.
yeah. Oh,
You know,
yep.
to sit flat on the ice when a goalie would go paddle down. It's not that, but like that was the first thing that popped into my head, and I find it strange. It's interesting, but I'm struggling to relate to it, if that makes sense.
So I always had my hand all the way down to where the paddle would begin, and I would have my index finger extended.
Kind of
And I would wrap it around the blade of the paddle.
okay.
So that trigger thing, that would have been really nice for me. I would have used that a lot. Um, I'm having a hard time kind of like explaining how my hand
It's
goes, but I see this and I'm like, yeah, that would work exactly the way that I held my goalie stick. Um, Speaking of Linus Allmark, it seems like he is ready to go this year. Um,
mhm.
I saw him. He posted something on Instagram, I believe, one of his social platforms. Um, the man is a artist with not just his play on the ice, but with his words. So he had a post that said, "Summer's over, and with that, a new season is upon us. Long summer nights with a never setting sun, alongside this furry companion, are now exchanged with intense battles on the ice with fellow teammates. Lessons have been learned. Sweat has been poured. Tears have dropped. Laughs have been shared. New experiences gained. Old friendships will be put on pause, and new friendships will form and continue growing into something bigger and stronger. And I am so excited about what life has to offer this winter." So, our good friend over in Sweden seems to be shifting gears. He's moving away from that rest and relaxation that occurs in the summer, and he's officially gearing up hardcore over there.
You love to see it. When I first read it, the first thing that popped in my head is this something that he wrote on like AI or Chat GPT or something like that. That was the first thing that came into my head, and I don't want to take any credit away from him because he wrote that. This dude's ready to go. He's amped up, and that's what you want to hear from your Vesna winning number one goaltender. You want to see him really get into it this year. Hopefully, they do a better job managing him down the stretch than they did last year. But
Yeah.
you love to see it. You absolutely love to see it.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about this. I know Jeremy Swayman was recently on a podcast as well, and he was talking about how excited he is about the season. So there's a lot of doubters, and that this whole kind of mantra seems to be repeated across the organization right now. Of yeah, we don't have Patrice, we don't have David Krejci. We expect you to doubt us, but you guys also doubted us last year, and look what
Hmm.
we did last year. With that said, they're not going to be the same team. They don't have somebody recovering from injuries to step up and take those number one and number two center slots. But this team feels like they've got a target on their back, and everybody's poking them in the back and saying, "Hey, you guys are the ones taking a step back." Buffalo, Detroit, Ottawa. These guys are going to knock you out, and the bees. I think that they have the right attitude.
Hmm.
They're saying, "Come and fucking take it." Like, you have to go through us if you want to take away our spot. We're going to take it. So I'm optimistic. I think that they have that swagger, that attitude that I think will be needed to be successful this year. Um, Also saw that Jim Montgomery had recently provided some of his thoughts for lineups for this year. and we got confirmation that yeah, he's planning Pavel Zacha and Charlie Coyle as the number 1 and number 2 center. So, what do
I
you think
mean,
about that, Burge?
given what they have right now, that's what I want to see them start the season with. I'm interested to see how Zaka does in that role. I mean, former top pick in the draft, not number one overall, but a top. I think he was top five.
He
I
was
think.
sixth in
Yeah.
the draft.
So
Yeah.
he seemed to kind of strike a fit last year here with the Bruins. After kind of being kind of an underwhelming player with the Devils. So let's see if he can take that next step forward with increased ice time and playing with the top guys. Coyle, he's been kind of the guy. I think when he signed his contract a few years ago, they had planned for him to be Krejci's successor as that kind of that number 2 center. So it'll be interested to see what he looks like in that role. I mean, he has obviously hasn't taken that that jump. I don't want to say to a David Krejci level because that would be kind of unfair. But to see him take that level to provide that solid second line center minutes. But I love that they're embracing the underdog kind of mentality. I hope that it is an organization wide mentality that they're going to go into the season with this year. It's a good thing to do when you think you have a target on your back, given you were the best team one of the best teams of all time last year, and everybody's doubting you this year. Embrace that
The best
mentality.
team of all
Yeah,
time. Not one of, the best team.
in the regular season. Um, you know,
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, I mean, absolutely in the regular season, but
embrace that mentality and maybe you steal some wins. You still have your elite goalie tandem back there that's going to hopefully steal you some games this year, and you never know how it falls. I mean, no one's expecting them to be a President's Trophy winner this year. I don't think anybody would saddle them with any kind of expectation like that, but all they got to do is get into the dance like Florida did last year, and then anything can happen once the playoffs
just
start.
punch your ticket, man. Just punch your ticket. Yep, I 100% agree. Um, and the other thing is, it's not just the goaltenders that are returning; it's basically the same defense as
Mm-hmm.
well. I mean, the only big difference is going to be Connor Clifton heading over to Buffalo on a deal that was a lot of money for Connor Clifton.
Wouldn't have paid for that
Um,
him here. Wouldn't have paid that for him
oh
here.
fuck no! And it was funny. They had I forget. And apologies if any Sabres fans listen to this. I can't remember what the fuck your GM's name is. Kevin Adams, maybe is it? I
I
think it
think
is
that's
Kevin
it. Yeah.
Adams. I just fucking nailed it. Never mind. He was saying on Sirius XM NHL Network Radio in an interview that he thinks that because Buffalo is where they're at on that precipice of taking a big leap forward, he doesn't have to go out and grossly overpay players to deals in order to get them to sign in Buffalo like they used to. I was like, that's literally what you just did, motherfucker. That's
It's
what
not
you
like
just did.
it's not like he went out and signed like a top tier, guy. He signed a guy that
Right.
played bottom 6 minutes in Boston.
A guy that kept getting healthy scratched in the postseason.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I understand he won't be healthy scratched in Buffalo because you guys are fucking Buffalo, but like you literally did what you said that you didn't have to do anymore. And then we have Shattenkirk coming in on the third pair, most likely. I'd expect when you sign a guy like that you're going to be playing him. But I can't imagine Shatty's that bad compared to Cliffy on the defensive side of things.
I mean, Shattenkirk was a top defenseman, not too long ago. I mean, obviously, a lot of the signings the Bruins had this year are guys kind of in the twilight of their careers, I guess you could say. But they're all guys that were former, like, really good players in the league. And if they're trying to get out whatever they have left, in the tank for those guys. And if they can get
Yeah,
that out this year and kind of put it together for that 1 year, that's when noise gets made.
absolutely. My final Bruins note is that Brad Marchand is just like all of us. My buddy, who lives down in the Massachusetts, Boston area, I don't do that so I can say down there. Um, he was at the 99 restaurant with his family, and he saw Brad Marchand walk in with his family. And just like every other fucking masshole, apparently Brad Marchand just likes to have a pint and have dinner with his family at 99. Never would have imagined a professional athlete go to the 99 restaurant for dinner, but hey, it's a good family vibe, and it was kind of funny to hear that story that Marshy was grabbing some of the popcorn and a brewski
Gotta
at the
love
old
that free
99.
popcorn.
Absolutely. British, guess what? It's almost football season, dude. Preseason's done. What are your initial thoughts about the Pats?
Cautiously optimistic would probably describe it the best. I don't really have any expectations for them this year. Obviously, I want to see them get in the playoffs and win a playoff game that they haven't done in 4 years. But I'm cautiously optimistic. I like the coaching changes they made in the offseason, bringing in Bill O'Brien to be the offensive coordinator, and some of the rookie receivers they drafted seem to be hitting their stride in training camp. So there's a little bit of optimism there. Love the running backs with Zeke getting signed, to back up Stevenson. I, I think their defense is going to be, again, maybe one of the top 5 defenses in the league. I'm really happy, to see where they go from here. They got a lot of stud talent that they're going to end up having to pay, after, next season. So it'll be interesting to see. I want to say they're going to get 10 wins. 10 wins, 11 wins would be nice. They're in a gauntlet of a division with Buffalo, Miami, and the Jets, but we'll see what happens. I'm not going in with any expectations this year. It's wasted a lot of brain cells and everything over the last couple of years, really going in with expectations that they're going to be not the same team that they were with Brady, but be able to carry forward a somewhat enjoyable product to watch. Last year, that was not it with the way the offense played.
Oh my God.
But, I'm optimistic, and I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of product they put on the field. I'm looking forward to them hopefully continuing the Jets' misery after they went out and spent all that money and traded for Aaron Rodgers and did all that. I want them to continue their win streak against the Jets. It's going on like 8 years now, so I want that to continue.
I really did not understand why we kept Matt Patricia in that offensive role for as long as we did. Like, it felt like every fucking snap, it was just going to be a screen to the left or right every single time.
A screen or an outside run.
Yeah. Or just like a garbage running play where we get like maybe 1 or 2 yards, but chances are like -1 every single fucking time. Like, the only time I really saw them ever throw the ball or air it out or even let Mac Jones or, anybody show what they had was when they threw Bailey Zappi in there and they were just like out of fucking options. Yeah, I'm really, really glad they got rid of Patricia. I'm hopeful that the Bill O'Brien chemistry with Mac, I know that's kind of overstated and everything because O'Brien was only there with Mac for 1 season or something like that. But I feel like having a legitimate offensive coordinator is going to be a nice change of pace. And we really can't make any conclusions or jump to any conclusions based on what we saw in the preseason. Preseason football is garbage.
Yeah.
They don't play any of the starters really other than like for a quarter at a time.
I don't even enjoy watching it. I don't even waste my time.
Yeah, I throw it up there because I'm like, it's football and it's still fun to watch. But then I'm fucking yelling at the TV. I'm like, why am I doing this to myself? Like, I'm not even that big of a Patriots fan, but it's the fucking preseason and I'm yelling about flags and shit. And
you're just getting warmed up. You're getting warmed up.
Malik Cunningham is a lot of fun to watch. That guy's electric.
Yeah, I hope he makes the team. I think that, if I had a choice, I mean, I know he didn't play a lot of quarterback in the preseason, but when he did, he was kind of electric out there. And again, take it for what it's worth with the preseason and everything like that. But he brings like that running dynamic to that position, which is something that here in New England we haven't seen. And have we ever seen it? You know what I mean? Like,
come on, Tom Brady had a mean QB sneak.
Hey, he had some good juke moves. I saw him juke out, one of the best linebackers of all time, and Brian Urlacher, 20, 15 years ago, whatever it was. But like,
oh no, you're making me feel old.
I'm right there with you. But just to have that dual threat, and even if they bring him in, as a gadget player, he comes in as like kind of that wildcat offense where Mac Jones is still on the field, but he's lined up as a wide receiver, and he just takes
N'Keal Harry thing. Where wasn't that N'Keal Harry that threw the ball and shit?
It was Myers did it. Jacoby Myers did it.
Jacoby Myers, yeah. Okay, the wide receiver.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't know shit about football, dude, but I remember seeing some of that. Yeah, I do remember Julian Edelman throwing it out. He played QB back in the day, didn't he?
In college, yeah, he did. Yeah. So when they brought him in, they had those plays dialed up, ready to go if they needed him. But
yeah,
it would be great to see them use him in some sort of interesting role, even if it's coming out once or twice a game to take a snap or, winding up as a wide receiver to catch a screen pass. Because the guy clearly is athletic. I mean, after watching him in that one preseason game, the guy clearly has got a step and is athletic and can play in the league. It's just a
Yeah.
matter of finding a fit where you can put him.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, and speaking of getting old, man, like I'm reminiscing back, when I was probably I was in middle school, dude. So I was 11 or so, maybe 12. And I was a big Pats fan then. I didn't really know much about the Pats other than I liked watching them play. That was kind of like when they were starting their rise again. Um, Drew Bledsoe was our quarterback,
Mm-hmm.
and his dad, Mac Bledsoe, came to my elementary school in Dover, New Hampshire, and had like an assembly and everything. It was talking about, the power of teamwork and being healthy and exercise and shit. And I ended up winning a little Patriots football that was signed by Ty Law during this
Oh,
assembly,
that's
which was
awesome.
really fucking cool. So I was like the biggest Drew Bledsoe fan because I met his dad, and his dad gave me the Ty Law football, and he threw the football with us. And yeah, it was just electric. I was, Drew Bledsoe was my idol when I was a little dude. And then that game, I forget who we were playing. It was a pretty important game. You'll know more than me, Burge, but that play happens and Bledsoe goes
The
down.
Jets
He ends up being actually severely hurt in that situation. I think he
almost
had like
died.
some like internal ruptured organs and shit. But in comes this little fucking pipsqueak from Michigan, this fucking Tom Brady guy. And like I'm pretty sure like I was an emotional kid, maybe a surprise. Like I pretty rough, ragged exterior now, but I'm pretty sure I fucking cried when Drew Bledsoe went out and was injured, and this fucking idiot Tom Brady goes in there, and I was like, I don't even want to be a Patriots fan anymore. Bring me back Drew Bledsoe. I like Drew Bledsoe, and holy shit, bud, I couldn't have been more wrong on that front. Holy smokes. Only the greatest quarterback to ever play the fucking game goes in, and my stupid ass is crying about Drew Bledsoe.
I mean, I was kind of there with you. I mean, we're the same age group. So Drew Bledsoe was the first NFL jersey I ever owned. It's the first one that I was given. I mean, I remember the 96 Super Bowl. I think I was in like second or third grade when they lost to Green Bay. I was devastated when they lost that game. That was my first real dive into the Patriots, was when they went on that run. And when Bledsoe got hurt, I can remember, I think when he got hurt that year, it was like seventh or eighth grade or something like that. And I remember the ongoing debate that was going around Boston was, do you put Bledsoe back in or do you roll with Tom Brady? And Belichick obviously chose Tom Brady, and, the rest is history. But you can't help feel for Drew Bledsoe there. I mean, he just signed, I think, one of the richest contracts in the history of the league at that time, lost his job because he got absolutely trucked, which looked like it was a late hit out of bounds. I mean, he got absolutely leveled, and guy almost dies. But I'll say this about Drew Bledsoe: that guy took get that demotion like as well as any person or
Dude's a
athlete or
pro.
competitor could do. I don't think I could, have the personality to be able to take a demotion like that. I'd be so bitter and butthurt about losing my job because I got hurt and not getting an opportunity to get my job back. And, he was a pro's pro. Listen to Brady talk about him. You know, anytime he's interviewed, when, he talks about Drew Bledsoe, you hear it. What kind of guy and character Drew Bledsoe has. And, it was a privilege to watch him for as long as we did. It sucked when he got traded to Buffalo, my most hated sports city ever. But, you can't help feel for that guy. And that guy got replaced every job after that. He got replaced by a younger, more youthful. The team
The
wasn't in a good
shinier
place.
toy.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
teams weren't in a good place. I don't remember who he got replaced with in Buffalo, but he got replaced by Tony Romo in Dallas, which effectively ended his career. But have you happened to try any of his wine? Because he's a big winemaker now, right?
I have heard about his wineries. I haven't had the chance to try. I'm not a big wine guy. I can't say I actually enjoy wine. I'll enjoy a good red wine like with a good steak, but otherwise I'll stick to my beers.
Yeah, see, I'm not much of a wine guy either, but I owe my wife a bottle of his wine. I told her I'd get it for her when she gave birth to our twin boys, and I still haven't got it yet. So I kind of got to get on that.
Way to fucking go.
I've dropped the ball a little bit on that, but it's always been Drew Bledsoe's wine, Double Back Winery, and I'm excited to try it. I'm not a wine drinker at all. I'm gonna get a nice red wine from his winery. It's not the cheapest wine, but I think my wife's kind of earned it at
Dude,
this
if I
point.
wanted a cheap wine, I'd go get one of the fucking boxes at Walmart. I'm good.
Just like in college.
The Boda box.
Yeah, yeah. But no, I hear you on the whole Drew Bledsoe thing. You know, with Tom Brady, I obviously my favorite idol. I mean, him retiring was up there with Chara and Bergeron and all those guys. Ending seeing your childhood go. For me, Brady was my number one. I've been a Patriots fan since he
That's
came
fair.
in.
From the childhood perspective, I 100% agree with you. Tom Brady was that, staple of my older childhood, being able to really understand what was going on. And, that's really when I was kind of building my passion for sports
Hmm.
was when Tom Brady was on that absolute fucking piss missile of a career. Just absolutely amazing shit from him. But I've said this to other people and I've said it in the Slack. I think that Tom Brady really, my perspective of Tom Brady was tarnished when it became abundantly clear that he prioritized the Tom Brady brand and himself and his business acumen over his legacy in the sport. And you and I have differing opinions on this, but he doesn't have that, you know, decorum that I kind of associate with, players that are, legacy players and play with one franchise and are representative of that franchise. I'll always think of Tom Brady as a New England Patriot, but he won a ring with another team because he wanted to go out and prove that he still could instead of just playing it out here in New England. He could have stayed a Patriot his whole time, but I think he was butting heads with Bill Belichick,
Hmm.
and it became a fucking pissing contest between those two. I think Tom Brady thought that he was more important than the team, and he wanted to prove that. And I don't like that.
I will say this: I can remember the day that my wife actually woke me up in bed saying Tom Brady's gone. I was devastated. It was awful. I'm not going to say I sat here and cried, but I was devastated. To the fact that he left, and him and Bill were like my childhood. Along with Bert, the Bruins players as well. But when Brady left, I thought it was time. They obviously were butting heads, and I fault Bill Belichick just as much as I fault Tom Brady for him leaving. You know, Brady just wanted to be paid like he was, what he was, and Belichick and the Patriots didn't budge on it. Obviously, in hindsight, looks like it was, one of the bigger mistakes. I mean, the Patriots would still be where they are now. I don't think they would have won another ring if Brady had
Right.
finished his career here. So good for Brady. Me as a fan of the athlete, I'm happy for him. But I'll tell you what, I never rooted for him when he was in Tampa. I was always like, I want them to lose. This breaks my heart. It's hard to do it. I can't do it. Especially given where the Patriots were during that time period. Um, I don't give the
Cam
Patriots a
Newton.
pass. Yeah. Oh, I expected he was going to be better than he was when he brought him in, but that's I could go on diatribe for hours about that. But you know, now that Brady is retired and he's actually retired this time, I had a real problem with what he did last year, where he retired and he's like, "Oh, hey, surprise, I'm back." He's like Brett Favre 2.0, and I'm glad that they didn't win anything after that. But I mean, he played. He said, years ago that he wanted to play until he was 45, and he did it. And he played. He retired at a pretty high level last year. I actually did have the privilege of seeing him play in Tampa last fall, because I went down there for a bachelor party for one of my friends, and one of the things we did is we got to see Brady play Aaron Rodgers at the Buccaneers Stadium. So that was pretty cool to see him in his last season. But again, him not as a Patriot, I made me want to vomit. I lost a lot of sleep over it. I'd get in fights with my friends about it. Like, oh, how can you not root for him? I'm like, he's not on my team anymore. He chose to leave us. Whatever the circumstances are, so be it. But like, he left New England, and when he left New England, that was, my childhood walking out the door.
Right. Yeah. And I spent a decent amount of time in Tampa myself as well. My grandmother still lives in Palm Harbor, which is about 30 minutes north of Tampa. So I go down once, twice a year. And If it's hockey season, I'll catch a game at Amalie Arena.
Hmm.
Um, I was fucking disgusted with the number of Tom Brady jerseys that they had in Tampa.
Are you
And they were
surprised
always
though?
like, "Oh yeah, Tom Brady, Buccaneers quarterback." I was like, "Motherfucker, he's still like a Patriots quarterback. Like he's never going to be known as the Buccaneers quarterback. He is the Patriots quarterback."
How do you feel about the half and half jerseys that are around there? You know, the Patriots.
Disgusting.
Yeah,
Never
dude,
want to see it. Ugh.
those are vomit. Those make me want to vomit. It's like, dude, just pick a team. Like, if you're gonna go support Brady, you can wear your Patriots jersey to a Buccaneers game, and people will know who you're rooting for. Like the half and half stuff, like, that's just a joke and a waste of money. And I think people that wear those guys are posers and clowns.
Like they're just doing it for the fucking attention, I feel like, because
Exactly.
everybody's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" I also, this is an unpopular opinion, I think, on hockey social media, but I got into an argument with somebody today, and I think the people that are like, "Oh, I am actually a fan of 3 teams in one league." I think that's fucking garbage. Like, grow a set of whatever genitalia you identify with and make a commitment. Like, you can't be out there, and I guess there are some people that do this, but I was about to say you can't go out there and be like, "Oh, I actually have 3 wives," unless you're like Mormon or something or
Yeah.
poly or something like that. But like, make a commitment here. I can't even fathom associating my loyalty as I stand or as I sit here in front of about 32 Boston Bruins branded things, pieces of memorabilia in my man cave here. I can't fathom saying, "Oh yeah, I'm a Bruins fan, but I'm also a fan of the Edmonton Oilers or the Vegas Golden Knights." Like I can understand, I can say I like those teams. I enjoy watching those teams. I'm not a fucking fan of those teams. I'm a fan of the Boston Bruins. Pick one team, show some loyalty, and don't do this like, you know, distributing of your risk and saying, okay, if one of my teams don't do well, I have my other team. I can go to my other. That's some like loser behavior.
I agree with that. I'm always going to be a fan of my teams. My teams where I grew up, they were always going to be my teams. The only reason I would push back just a smidge on what you said there was with I lived in another city. So if I lived in, say I lived in Edmonton and you wanted to be a fan of the Oilers, I would be a fan of the Oilers just because I lived there. Would I be like you with all the memorabilia in the background with my secondary team, I guess you could call it? No way. It's always going to
Yeah,
be
that's
my number
fair.
one that my number one team is going to be the team that I associate with. The
Yeah,
Boston Bruins will always be my team. That being said, if I live somewhere else, and I'm not saying this would actually be the case, but I can understand why people do end up getting on teams where they live. And you're not going to surround yourself with memorabilia. You're not going to get attached to the team. I might say, if the Bruins get knocked out, I'm rooting for the Vegas Golden Knights this year, and I have a
that's
reason.
different though.
Right, it is different. You're not gonna if the Bruins and the Golden Knights are playing against each other, it's an easy choice of who I'm going to be rooting for. It's going to be the Bruins, obviously, 100
Yeah.
times out of 100.
So the situation I'm referencing is an individual that I spoke with in one of the Discord channels, and they're like, "I would love it if the Bruins played the Vegas Golden Knights in the Cup final because either one of my teams would win." I was like, "Shut the fuck up!" Like, that's some fucking garbage. Like, if I was hypothetically, if I had moved to say Denver, Colorado, I would probably enjoy going to see Cale Makar, Nathan McKinnon play on a
Mhm.
regular basis. And I would probably be able to consider myself, and I acquiesce to your point, I would probably consider myself a Colorado Avalanche fan. But if the Bruins came to town, I would, if I have an Avalanche shirt, I'm not wearing that
No
shit.
way.
I am wearing my Boston Bruins stuff because I am at my core a Boston Bruins fan. And there's no everybody wins scenario. If you do that, I hate to say it, and if I'm offending anybody, I'm very sorry, but go fuck yourself. Like, you're a coward. Pick a
Agreed.
fucking team and stick to
Mhm.
your fucking team. Like, that's the beauty of sports. It's 95% defeat and pain and sadness, but that 5%, and I'm fucking really getting my percentages wrong here, but that 5% of joy and and bliss is worth it all. And I will always cherish 2011 because of that feeling of triumph that we got
Hmm.
when the Bruins were finally able to raise the cup. And I think that if I had 3 teams, that feeling wouldn't be the same.
No, it wouldn't. And let me pose this question for you. Let's say a hypothetical situation: Patrice Bergeron, at the end of his career, went and played for the Vegas Golden Knights. Would you consider? How do you feel about people that are fans of players over a team? You see it a lot in the NBA. How do you feel about people that will follow a player around and just be a fan of that team?
I think it all depends on how that player conducts themselves. And, you look back to Raymond Bork, right?
Prime example.
He was the face of the franchise here in Boston. And for one reason or another, mainly due to the front office, we were
Hmm.
never able to build a team around to supplement him to win a cup. And it is what it is. Um, we sent him out to Colorado and he wins a cup. And what does he do? Due to all of his roots and all of his, relationships in Boston as an ambassador of the Boston Bruins, he brings the cup to Boston. Like that is the top tier example of rooting for a top tier person. Now, if you're talking about an individual, then and I'm not a big NBA guy, but when I think of an individual prioritizing the individual, I think of Kyrie Irving. And
Prime example.
that guy's going out and he's like, I only care about Kyrie and whatever's good for Kyrie's brand. Like he's the guy that's like, after he says to a stadium full of people that I want to be a Boston Celtic, I'm going to extend here. The very next fucking season, he's throwing a fit and stomping on Lucky the Leprechaun or whatever the
Hmm.
fucking name their logo is on center court. Like, come on, dude. So that's my answer to you. It depends on the character of the person and of the player. If they were a true ambassador of the sport and the community that they represented, like Patrice was, I would absolutely support them. It would absolutely fucking kill my
Yes,
soul
it
if I
would.
ever saw Patrice Bergeron in another jersey, but I would still support the hell out of Patrice Bergeron.
If Patrice Bergeron played for the Habs and the Habs came to the Garden, would you wear a Habs Patrice Bergeron jersey and root
No,
for the Habs to win, or would you root for
no.
the Bruins to beat the player?
I would root for the Bruins to beat the player. I would respect the player if the player played well and beat the Bruins. I would say that's the fucking player I loved when he was a Bruin. I wish he was still a Bruin.
That's
And
the
then I would
perfect
say fuck the
answer.
Habs.
Perfect answer. I feel exactly the same way with Raymond Bork. Too. I remember watching him win the cup and hoist the cup live. And to this day, when I watch the clip of it on YouTube, and you hear Gary Thorne after 22 years, Raymond Bork, that chokes
Raymond
me up.
Bork.
It chokes me up. I still I'll tear up a little bit when I watch it because I remember myself as like that 11, 12-year-old kid watching him do that, knowing what that man meant to this city and seeing him do that. That's the only way that I can see that is an okay thing to do with NBA. You see it in the NBA. You don't see it a lot in the NHL. You might see it with the younger kids, with Connor McDavid, the superstars. If they leave their team, they're going to follow that player to their new team. They're not going to be associated with a franchise and have the deep roots that, say you and I have with the Boston Bruins.
Yeah, agreed. So we're gonna wrap up a little early this week here. We've got some fun stuff planned for you next week on recording. We're gonna be talking about our top 5 goaltenders of all time and throw out some shout outs for backup goalies that we really think of as great ambassadors to the position in net. We also have some hot takes about goaltenders from some fans and some listeners around the community that we'll touch on. But yeah, stay tuned. We really look forward to having this discussion on a weekly basis. We appreciate you if you listen. As always, if you have any questions or topics that you want to have myself or Burge touch on, please use our listener submission form that we have on Twitter, or feel free to just send us a DM or tweet at us or zeet at us, whatever strikes your fancy.
Always be tweet.
But yeah, thanks very much for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode.
Take it easy. Have a good week.